When Black Ops 4 first released, I think a lot of people were excited for the game for a lot of different reasons. The game was proclaimed to be something that would be updated more than any other Call of Duty title ever before, and it was said to be a game that would thrive for years to come. So naturally, we thought we'd see some massive new updates come to the game on a very consistent and frequent basis. And to be fair, the operations system that we've seen this year has provided a lot more content than just the standard 4 DLC packs that we are used to seeing. We've seen the regular DLC maps that come to the game every year through the Season Pass. We've seen free weather variant maps that are a brand new multiplayer add-on. We've seen events of both big and small variety, and overall Black Ops 4 did see a lot of cool post-launch content. Was it enough? That's a topic for another day, but it is safe to say the game was not lacking ingenuity, at least at first, because somewhere along the way, something changed. Someone, or probably a collective group of someones, said,
"Hey, what if we did this?"
And although the player base didn't fully appreciate what happened after that was said, that collective group of someones did, and thus Black Ops 4 was completely changed. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we're taking a look at the update that changed everything. But before we get into that, if you are new here and you want to stay up to date with everything going on in the world of Call of Duty, feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when I upload a new video. And of course, if you guys do enjoy this one, let me know by dropping a like rating on it, as it would be much appreciated. And now let's get into the Black Ops 4 update that changed everything. So, back in October, the game launched, and honestly, it had a pretty solid amount of content available right out of the gates. Of course, at launch, any game is going to feel like there is a ton to do, since you have your overall rank to level up, weapons to unlock, and you are experiencing new maps and modes and setups and all things of that nature. And the launch of Black Ops 4, minus the whole server tick rate thing, seemed to be relatively smooth. And surprisingly, only a week into launch on October 19th, we got our first major update, which consisted of Operation First Strike and the introduction of the black markets. Now, First Strike consisted of 200 tiers, and within those tiers we had new weapon variants called Mastercrafts, alongside Blackout characters and reserve cases, which effectively functioned as one supply drop, so you could get a random item out of those. We also saw Blackjack's shop and the Special Orders tab added in too during First Strike, so it was clear that post-launch content was going to be abundant right off the bat. And in general, seeing as we had no prior update or operation to base the experience on, First Strike seemed to be a solid addition to the game. Then came Operation Absolute Zero in December of 2018, and things really ramped up here as we got a huge Blackout update, new DLC weapons in multiplayer, new maps in multiplayer, and a whole new Contraband stream, which this time around featured actual DLC weapons in the SWAT and the Daemon, and we also had the Secret Santa melee weapon too. This time around though, after you completed the tiers, which were dropped down to 100 in total, you continuously unlocked reserve cases for every new tier you progressed past. So there was a bit more focus on the quote-unquote supply drops this time around, and we also got some pretty controversial updates to the shop and the special orders, as various things like pre-order bonus items became available for purchase, which kinda ruins the idea of exclusive pre-order bonuses. So while the content itself was pretty cool within Absolute Zero, we saw that suddenly the paywall items were becoming a bit more troublesome all around. Then came Grand Heist in February, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is the update that really changed everything. This is the turning point for Black Ops 4 in my opinion, because, as we'll see as we get further on into the video, after Grand Heist, things just started to spiral out of control. So with Grand Heist, we got the addition of stackable reserve cases and reserve crates, alongside Blackjack's reserves, which included some much better content than before. We saw new camos, new Blackout characters, and new Mastercrafts added into the reserves, more than ever before, and while you could still earn some characters and DLC weapons in the tiers, a lot of high-value content seemed to get pushed to the reserves, which were now directly purchasable with the crates, or stackable with the cases. So when Grand Heist released, despite all of the other content that came to the game in the form of new maps, modes, Blackout updates, zombies content, and all things like that, it was very apparent that there was a heavy focus on the reserves now, which caused a lot of worry amongst the community, since Black Ops 3 was essentially supply drop overload for 2 years. If you guys remember, BO3 had DLC weapon after DLC weapon after DLC weapon added into the game. And for a lot of people, that meant actually getting hands-on with the best weapons like the XMC or the PPSH was incredibly hard since you had to rely solely on chance. And that system was one that was bashed time and again since it was treated kind of like a cash grab. So to see this sudden shift in focus from content being free and obtainable directly through playing in the contraband stream to content being free but much harder to obtain in the reserves was a big step backwards in the eyes of a lot of players. Then we got into Spectre Rising in the Days of Summer event, where ultimately things escalated even more from the events of Grand Heist, as full-on DLC weapons were added into the reserves. And while the Tiger Shark and the Vendetta were each obtainable through the contraband stream, the Peacekeeper, the S6 Stingray, the Locust, and the Ballistic Knife were all added in through the reserves, which at this point was comprised of over 1,000 items, most of which were stickers and calling cards and things of that nature, alongside parted out weapon camos. So you had roughly a 4 in 1,200 chance at getting the new DLC weapons thanks to this new update, and that's not even factoring in duplicates, which makes things even worse. So reserves and First Strike were just some random low value stickers and calling cards and things like that. Reserves and Absolute Zero had a few nice items, but ultimately weren't a huge focus. Reserves ended up becoming a major focus in Grand Heist, as some very good content was added into them, and seeing that players wanted those high value unlocks from reserves, piggybacking off of Grand Heist, Spectre Rising and Days of Summer added in some of the most powerful weapons in the game through reserves. Then on top of that, this past operation with Apocalypse Z and the Apocalypse Z Survivors tiers, we didn't even get a weapon as the final tier unlock. We instead got a weapon bribe, which gives you one of the DLC weapons in the reserves, but no one weapon in specific unless you have all of them or most of them already unlocked. So we went from having all of the best Mastercrafts and Blackout characters and DLC weapons directly available in the tiers every single operation to hardly having any Mastercrafts or characters in the tiers and no direct weapons in the tiers either. And this, like I said, all started back in Grand Heist when the reserves became the prime focus for new content, which truthfully is a massive bummer, and I think a lot of people in the community would agree with that statement. I definitely think that the time leading up to Operation Grand Heist was the peak for Black Ops 4 in terms of positive reception. And then Grand Heist came out, and all that positivity turned into what on earth are you doing kinda energy. Of course, we do have one operation left here in the main year of Black Ops 4, and that'll be coming up in just about a month here, right around the same time that the Modern Warfare crossplay beta will be coming to a close. And going off of the pattern of each operation's tier content dwindling less and less in terms of value, I can't say I'm all that hopeful for the Operation 6 tiers. But who knows, maybe in a weird turn of events, we'll get some DLC weapons and high value content added back into the tiers rather than in the reserves, but I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. Regardless, Black Ops 4 to this day is the most updated Call of Duty title, but unfortunately not all of those updates were incredibly productive. And above all, the Grand Heist update ultimately changed the game forever in a not so good kind of way, as it really took things in a direction that certainly was not ideal to say the least. I should also mention that we do know, looking ahead to Modern Warfare, that the DLC content is going to be approached in a very different fashion, as there will no longer be a traditional season pass. And hopefully that also means we won't have another year where content gets shifted from being readily available to a quick cash grab. But with all of that being said, that is effectively going to wrap things up for today. By all means, feel free to let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on this topic. At what point do you think Black Ops 4 took that wrong turn and headed down that undesirable path, so to speak? If you guys enjoyed the video, let me know by dropping a like rating on it, as it would be much appreciated, and it also does really help out the channel. And of course, if you are brand new here and you want to stay up to date with everything going on in the world of Call of Duty, ranging from news to leaks to updates and everything else in between, feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on. That way you'll always know whenever I upload a new video. As always, be sure to use code IMMORTAL on all G Fuel, Control Freak, and Respawn products. You can find all of those links down in the description below. And once again, thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.